Hey everyone, I am here with Gray Pannett at Limehills Herefords, and we're just adding to our bit of a series, Gray, on breed objectives and how people choose them. But first, if you want to say a wee bit about where we are here.
Just north of Milliswat at Limehills, which ranges up to Lake Onslow, which is 28 k's back, 4,000 hectares of rolling Central Otago hill country.
Yeah, and the reason I have got you here today is you're almost as old as those hills back there, right?
Oh, just about, yeah.
But you've been breeding for a long time.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to talk to is, say you're new to the game, not the breeding game, just say mostly commercial stock on our page. So
Yeah.
How do you set breed objectives? What influences you? Like if you're starting out and new in the game?
Well, I described it, if I had a mob of 6 bulls in the pen and I was saying to a group of young fellas, I wouldn't just go in there and say pick the best bull. I would give them a set of criteria to pick the bull that's best for that criteria. So you got to work out what your criteria is first. So if you're on hill country and you want a maternal herd of cows that you want to breed replacement from, you need to know what you're setting yourself up for. If you're going to sell weaners, you're going to fatten cattle. So if you're selling weaners, really you've got to make the most money. So you need to be able to get good 200-day growth, and if you want to keep replacements, you've got to have some maternal ability. And so you need to know what you want first, and what your farm can sustain, really, in some ways.
So your markets, I guess, in your environment, and then so I guess the strengths and weaknesses of what you've already got. You need to measure these things, right?
Yeah. So you need to probably, like in a commercial sense, you need to be able to monitor whether you're making. So you're weighing your calves, so you know what you're getting, and even that is just at weaning time or whatever. And the strength of all commercial operations is tight calving, with all cows having a calf, and all the rest. The big calf necessarily doesn't actually make up for the fact that you've got a dead calf or a dry cow. So you really need to focus on production as a unit rather than as a one in some ways.
And that tight calving, that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because some of, like you hear, there are some drawn out calvings in places, aren't there? So that's quite a simple thing to fix.
Well, it can be very simple to fix, but there's a little bit of pain for a while. But you've got to start with your heifers by restricting their mating. And so you restrict their mating to a shorter term, so that when they get in the cow herd, they're not going to drop out again.
Right.
That's how I see it. Anyway.
And so you figure out your faults. Let's say you've figured out you do have a fault, or not even a fault, you just got something you're working on. We're hearing a lot at the moment that people are looking to reduce cow size, environmental, all of those reasons. It's not as simple as going out and buying a small bull, is it?
No. I think mature cow size is important. Like, you just don't want a big cow if you only got a wee family. Like,
fair
really,
enough.
Or a big house and there's only 2 of you. It's not much point, is there? But you're not going to change it overnight, and you can't afford to go from one end to the other end. Because then you get far too much variation. And the worst thing you can, in my experience, is have a variation in your cow herd. Too much variation. So you've actually got to say, well, I might have made a mistake, but I need to be able to correct it right back at the heifer stage, and then work through from there. And just do it in yearly groups. You can't just go bang. Because if you've got a big variation in the cow herd, you've got different feeding levels needed for all those different cows. So your uniformity is pretty important.
So you're slow progress, kind of, isn't it?
Well, the difference between cattle and sheep for me is that because our cows can live to 10 or 11 years old, so it's a slower burn. So you can't be impatient in this game. That would be what I would say.
And then
you can be impatient, but you're going to get grey and bald like me.
And then so what about these? So you're sitting here and you've got your plan, you've got it all laid out, you know your faults, you're working on them, and then all of a sudden something comes from left field and everyone's like, you have to chase this. Like, how do you keep on your path but also listen to what's around you? Like that, I find that quite hard in the stud industry, at least.
I think the stud industry's probably a bit of a slave to its clients, isn't it? So, but the best commercial farmers stick to their key ingredients. They understand that, and they're very disciplined. You have to, if you want tight calving, you have to be disciplined about being tight calving. And if you want good weaners, you have to select for good weaners consistently. You can't just flip flop.
Yeah.
And you can say, well, this is the new gig, and we've got to change whatever we've got to change, but you can't change everything overnight,
Yes.
because you won't do it.
Yeah.
And you'll end up with a shit show, to be honest.
Yeah. And that's what by the variation. That's what you're talking. You go into your herd and they're all over the place.
Yeah. And it's very hard to manage
Yeah.
a mob of cows or bulls or whatever. Is you don't see necessarily a mob of Jersey cows and a mob of Friesians in the same mob, do you?
Yes.
And that's just sort of the same thing you're doing, because there are different feeding levels required and da da da.
Yeah. Cool.